Finally, here is my review, spoilers review, for the new Batman movie starring Robert Pattinson that just came out this past weekend. Here's my thoughts, my praises, and my negatives about the movie. What's going on, Batman fans? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, the Viking. Make sure you give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for a brand new video every single day. Years of waiting, the Batman is finally here. You can go to a theater, you can sit down, get some popcorn, and enjoy 3 hours of greatness. Some people like the movie, some people do not like the movie, which we will get into. But I got to see the movie on Saturday. And I wanted to do a review on Saturday, but I wanted to let the movie kind of process in my mind. And then yesterday I was still thinking about the movie as well. So I wanted to give it a full weekend where everybody has more or less seen the movie now at this stage who wants to see it. So we can talk about it here today in an open discussion. The Batman. Now I love Matt Reeves as a director. I love his Apes movies. And if you follow me on social media, even here on the channel, my profile picture is Caesar from Planet of the Apes. And a background story to that is, back in 2017 I went to go see War for the Planet of the Apes, and I was blown away and I loved the movie so much. And that's the movie that inspired me to start reviewing movies, to start making an Instagram, a Twitter, a Facebook account dedicated to movies and to talking about them. So that's the movie that inspired me to do it. And I've always wanted to do it, make a YouTube channel, and now I'm here and I'm enjoying doing this with you guys. I love talking about movies, TV series, reviews, all that kind of stuff. I love it so much. My favorite character of all time is the Batman. And my second favorite character of all time is the Joker. So I love everything Batman, whether it's Burton, Schumacher, Nolan, Snyder, now Reeves. I really enjoy this world, and I love how after 80 years of this character, we've had 7 or 8 different actors in live action movies. We've had 12 or 13 movies. They're each different to each other. Each iteration is unique, and that's amazing for a character that is a character that's the Batman that protects Gotham City. Each movie is so different from the last, and that's amazing, and I love that so much. I prefer Snyder's world and Nolan's world, or now Reeves' world, and say Schumacher's world, but I still enjoy the movies, Batman Forever mostly. But the thing is, with the Dark Knight trilogy, with Nolan and Christian Bale, it was very grounded. It felt like it could take place in our world. It did feel like our world. Zack Snyder's take was more supernatural. There was aliens, there was superheroes, there was Superman and Wonder Woman, and that was cool. And each of those iterations from Snyder and Nolan, they were comic accurate to a degree. But Matt Reeves' take on the Batman world felt the most comic accurate. It also felt like I was watching somebody playing the Arkham games. You do the missions, you watch the cutscenes. That's what this movie felt like. It was like I was witnessing somebody play a game because of the mystery, because of the story that was unfolding before my eyes, which was very, very engaging. It's nothing like any other Batman movie that we've ever watched. Nothing. People are comparing it to The Dark Knight and Nolan's world. Not at all. This is way more darker and bleak than anything, even darker than Zack Snyder. People criticize Zack Snyder for this and that, his darkness, all this kind of stuff. For me, this is the darkest take on the character, even darker than Burton's take. And this is pretty amazing to me how this movie was made. I was sitting there in awe. I was like, how did this studio, who has intervened with so many different directors and talent, let this movie be made? Because it's so dark, it's so different. It's definitely not for kids. Yes, kids can go see it, but it doesn't have that enjoyment factor that maybe Batman v Superman had in terms of the action is just amazing. Oh my god, wow. This movie for me didn't have that whatsoever. The action for me was probably the weakest part, even though the action is pretty entertaining. The action is actually pretty cool. But it doesn't have that entertaining factor like, say, the Batman v Superman warehouse fight scene was, or like watching a John Wick movie. But the action's done well here, but the story is more prioritized. And that's not saying the plot in John Wick is terrible or the plot in Batman v Superman is terrible. That's not what I'm saying whatsoever. What I'm saying is Batman v Superman has a great plot and it has amazing action. Oh my god, wow, action. And you probably come out of Batman v Superman talking about the action more than the actual story. And with John Wick, you come out talking about, oh my god, John Wick effed up those guys more than the actual story of what John Wick is trying to do. Here for the Batman, the main priority for me was the story, was the mystery, was the unfolding of the Riddler and his conspiracy for Gotham City. And the action is there as well, but it's not as, oh my god, wow, like those movies that I mentioned. But the Batmobile Chase sequence with Penguin was pretty entertaining and pretty badass. But it's so different, this movie, than any other Batman iteration. And I appreciate that. And I love how Matt Reeves kind of went bold with this one. You know, he could have made an easy Batman movie with amazing action and just had an average plot and, oh, it's the Batman, people will come anyway. But he decided to do something very, very different. He world builded so much in this movie that I cannot wait to see what he does in part 2 and part 3 of the Batman universe. And we're getting HBO Max series with the Penguin. I think Arkham Asylum is getting its own series as well. So there's so much to unpack with this entire world that Matt Reeves has laid out. Now, the Batman movie, for me, at times I was kind of overwhelmed because I could not believe how much of Batman we were actually seeing. In the other previous movies, we see Batman, we see Bruce Wayne, we see other characters, but here it was mostly Batman. It was hardly Bruce Wayne at all. And I was overwhelmed, I was in awe of, oh my god, I'm literally seeing an entire Batman movie with Batman, and he's interacting with the police, with Catwoman, with Penguin. This is pretty awesome. This is pretty cool. I have not seen anything like this before in live action. The closest thing is probably the Arkham games. The movie's like 2 hours and 50 minutes, something like that. And it does feel like a very long movie. It does. But I didn't mind that. I actually wanted it to go on longer because the story is so compelling. It's so engaging. I didn't know where it was going to go. And I was fully embraced in this world. I did not want to leave. Now, I will admit, in the first 15, 20, maybe 30 minutes, it took me a while to get used to Robert Pattinson as our new Batman. Even though when Ben Affleck stood down from the role back in 2017-18, my first pick was Robert Pattinson to be the new Batman. But Ben Affleck has been my Batman since 2015 when he was cast, or 2014, and then the movie 2016 with Batman v Superman. He's been our Batman for nearly a decade now since Christian Bale retired from the role. So it took me a while to get used to Robert Pattinson as our new Batman. But as the movie went on, I got more engaged with the story, with the plot, with the characters, with the world. I could only see Robert Pattinson as Batman. I think his Batman was amazing. His Bruce Wayne was not. But there's a reason for that, because for me, this Batman has closed himself off from society. His interactions with Alfred are very kind of, not violent, but a bit aggressive as well. Like, it's not like he respects Alfred that much. He kind of calls him out a few times. He says some pretty mean things to him, like, you're not my father. That's pretty raw from this character. And I think as the movies go on, Batman will have to realize that he needs the Bruce Wayne persona as well. So he'll slowly build that up. Out of the mask, out of the cowl, he was very angry. So he'll have to develop that as the movies go on, and he will. And there's a reason why that's the case in this movie, where he seems like the same character as Bruce Wayne and as Batman, because he has lost his parents. He doesn't seem like the guy that goes out, to clubs with people or hangs out with friends. He seems very closed off. His main kind of goal is to be Batman and to protect Gotham City. So he's lost that human element of himself. And this is actually something that happened in Batman v Superman as well, where for me personally, we have Batman for the entire movie until the Marta scene. Even when Batman is Bruce Wayne, he is Batman just playing the character of Bruce Wayne. For me, Bruce Wayne is dead. That's why Batman has so much anger in Batman v Superman over the death of Robin, and also the invasion from Superman and Zod. But the Marta moment got Batman back to his human element. It got Bruce Wayne back. And I'd argue in Zack Snyder's Justice League, we don't see that Batman again, the angry, tormented Batman, until the nightmare scene with Joker and Deathstroke and the evil Superman. For me, that's why Batman in Zack Snyder's Justice League is so free. It's Bruce Wayne in the cowl and not the angry Batman that we got to see in Batman v Superman, who has lost his way. That's something that the Batman in these movies will slowly learn, that he needs the Bruce Wayne persona. In terms of the Riddler and the big plot of the movie, he's trying to expose all of the elite in Gotham. The politicians, the police force, Bruce Wayne. Because he has this big story to tell, to expose all of these people. We get to learn throughout the movie that Gotham City is very, very shady in terms of there's the gangsters, there's the politicians, there's the police, but they're all the same. They're all working together for financial gain. And Batman slowly realizes this as well. And Riddler isn't really a bad guy, but he is, because he kills people, he torments them, he tortures them and stuff like this. But you can see where he's coming from, because this big trust fund that Bruce Wayne's dad, Thomas Wayne, had created for the orphaned children, Thomas Wayne died, and then the politicians, the gangsters, the police all started to go into that big fund and got money for themselves. And the kids didn't get any of it whatsoever. Also, we get to learn that Bruce Wayne, Batman, he thinks that his dad and mom were great people and they were killed and this is why he's Batman. But the Riddler exposes Thomas Wayne as well, that he tried to cover up Martha Wayne and her mental illness, because there was a journalist who was exposing and digging a little bit deeper. So Thomas Wayne went to Carmine Falcone to, can you stop this guy? Can you scare him or something? And Carmine Falcone actually killed, or got somebody to kill, the journalist. And Thomas Wayne felt so bad about this, he was going to expose Carmine Falcone. And that's probably what led to Thomas Wayne and Martha Wayne being murdered. But we don't get to find out that until later in the movie, when Alfred tells Bruce Wayne this, because the Riddler exposes it and Batman's like, this is all a lie. My parents were shady as well. My dad was trying to protect his image because he was running for mayor. But Alfred's like, no, that's not the case. That's not what happened at all. Alfred basically tells Bruce that you cannot trust Carmine Falcone at all. And then Bruce is like, so Carmine Falcone is the one who killed my parents. And even Alfred's not sure. He's like, look, it could be him, or it could be some random person that was on drugs or something that just killed your parents. I don't know. I wish I did know. So I did like that, how the Thomas Wayne element was kind of like, this is a great guy who was running for mayor, trying to help all the orphaned children. But then it looked like he was just trying to cover his own ass because some family secrets were getting out, and then he's the one who got this journalist killed. But then we got to learn that it wasn't the case whatsoever. And Carmine Falcone is a very manipulative person. He's very controlling. He's a gangster, of course. And we get to see that throughout the movie. He has this kind of, this presence about him, this status about him, that he's very cool in his demeanor. He talks very slowly and light, but he's actually very terrifying and very, very dangerous. But the Riddler is killing off all of these politicians, the police force, and it kind of reminded me of Saw at times as well, because he puts them into traps and Batman has to figure out these riddles, or the person that's in the trap has to figure out this riddle as well. And there's one scene, I think, with Peter Skarsgård at the funeral where he's there, he's got a bomb trapped to him, and he's got to solve like 3 riddles in 2 minutes, and Batman is there as well, and Batman is helping him. So that was pretty cool. And the riddles were pretty tough. Look, I'm not the smartest guy when it comes to riddles or kind of stuff like that, so I didn't get most of them, but Batman was very quick, and I liked how Batman was kind of silent, but he was thinking about the riddles and he finally figured them out. That was pretty cool. The riddles were pretty awesome. But I am interested to see if this movie has rewatch value, because I know the twists, I know the turns now, I know the riddles. Does it have rewatch value? Because Batman v Superman, even though the plot was great, it had awesome rewatch value, because you had the nightmare fight sequence, you had the warehouse fight sequence, you had Batman v Superman, you had Wonder Woman and Superman and Batman v Doomsday. unbelievable action. Here, this movie doesn't have that type of action. It's more story-based, it's more plot-based, it's more character-based. So I wonder if it will have that rewatch value. So I'm looking forward to seeing the movie again. But Paul Dano as the Riddler for me was very terrifying, very scary, but also comedic in a way, because as the story goes on, we find out that he has a fan page, he has like 500 followers, he sends them videos and stuff like that. That's very kind of today in terms of people having TikTok and all this kind of stuff. But the Riddler was comedic in a way, and he was also very mentally ill, because Batman goes to see Riddler while he is in Arkham. And it looks like the Riddler might know who Batman is, because he talks about Bruce Wayne, all this kind of stuff. And Batman is actually terrified, like, oh my God, does the Riddler know who I am? But Paul Dano as the Riddler was actually talking about how Bruce Wayne is very much tied into all of this as well because of his parents. And like, when his parents died, the media was all about poor Bruce Wayne, the orphan, the rich orphan, and nothing about the kids who were supposed to get this renewal, this big trust fund of money to help them. And then we get to figure out that Batman figures out that Bruce Wayne is the next kind of victim, and Alfred kind of gets, blown up. And I actually thought for a split second that Matt Reeves was going to kill off Alfred, but he didn't. And I love the hospital scene near the end where Alfred and Bruce Wayne are having this kind of touching moment with each other when Alfred explains what really happened with his dad, Thomas Wayne. So, yeah, I like that. It's very touching. And their relationship wasn't like anything we've seen before, like in the Dark Knight trilogy or Batman v Superman. It was very raw. It was very kind of just angry at times between those two. But I think that relationship will start to blossom now as we go into the Batman 2. Colin Farrell flying the Irish flag as the Penguin is unrecognizable, but he is amazing. He did say that he wasn't in much of the actual movie, but he's actually in this movie quite a bit, and he's fantastic to watch. He runs this kind of what's it called? Is it called like a Penguin Lounge or something like that? I forget the name of it, but the nightclub, he runs that. It's a pretty cool nightclub, and all of the elite also go there, and there's a secret nightclub as well that we got to see Catwoman go into. But Colin Farrell was fantastic. He was very funny as well at times. There's especially a very good scene between Jim Gordon, Batman, and Penguin, where, they're trying to figure out this riddle, and Batman actually gets it wrong, and Penguin's like, no, it's this. And I liked how Batman got something wrong, and it was basically like a URL link or something like that, and that's what Batman just searched into Google. I'm like, this is pretty simple. Why didn't you think of this? And Penguin was like, come on, I helped you here. I'm the one who figured out this riddle. So that was pretty funny. And we are getting a Penguin Colin Farrell series on HBO Max, which he did say might be R-rated. And I'm very much looking forward to that, because at the end of the movie with Carmine Falcone now dead, Penguin sees this as the opportunity for him to run Gotham City. So I wonder, is the series going to be a prequel or a sequel to the Batman? I would love it to be a bit of both. I would love it to be before the Batman, maybe during the Batman, and also after the Batman as well, because with the massive flood in Gotham City, it looks like, I think it's a comic book No Man's Land, where there's sections of Gotham City and it's owned by different criminals. Like the Penguin has this area, the Riddler has this area, Joker, whoever else is there as well, something like that. So it looks like we are getting some sort of kind of copy of that in the Batman 2, which will be interesting to see. But he was very, very good, very unrecognizable, and probably the best action type scene in the movie was the Batmobile Chase, and the Batmobile revving up in that scene was unbelievable, and you could see the fear in the criminal's eyes, and that was awesome. Really, really cool. And Penguin tries to escape, they go down the freeway or whatever, big massive explosion, Penguin's like, I got you, I beat you, and then Batman comes through the flames, pretty awesome. Then Penguin's car kind of, crashes, and then that upside down shot we get to see in the trailer, where Robert Pattinson's Batman is just walking so slowly, his cape flowing in the wind, the explosion in the background, his footsteps, brilliant scene, and then he just kneels down to Penguin. That's awesome. That was really, really cool. So Colin Farrell as Penguin was awesome. Let's talk about Zoe Kravitz as Catwoman. Do you know what? Like, I know Colin Farrell's a great actor. I know that Robin Pattinson's a great actor. I know that, Jeffrey Wright's a great actor. So I never had any fear about those guys, and Paul Dano, of course, in the roles that they were cast as. But John Tuttoro and Zoe Kravitz, for me, were like under the radar. They were like, okay, that's cool, they're going to be those characters. Zoe Kravitz, I haven't seen her in much things. I think the only thing I've really seen her in is High Fidelity. I think it's a TV show that was on Hulu. It was cancelled, and some other movie I got to see her in before as well. But she was very good in this movie. I really liked her, I did. What I didn't like is that she has this mask to hide her identity, but she barely wears it at times. She just has it off and stuff like that, so why wear the mask at all? But she was pretty cool. Very, very, hot as well. She was just had that demeanor about her. She was badass. She was pretty cool. And I loved how she kind of was working with Batman as well. And she goes to the nightclub, Penguin's nightclub. She has these kind of, what's it called, eye lenses that Batman uses. She puts them on so Batman can see what she sees in the nightclub, and she's walking through. That was a pretty cool scene. I did like that a lot. Her action was, it was actually good near the end. She had some good action scenes. She actually saved Batman near the end when he was about to be killed by one of the Riddler goons. So she was awesome. I really liked her. Now, the relationship and the chemistry between her and Robin Pattinson as Batman wasn't that great. It was more her side than, say, Robin Pattinson's side. And I think there's a reason for that, which I talked about. Bruce Wayne and Robin Pattinson is very kind of alien. He doesn't have much relationships, only really Alfred, at all. So I did think that Zoe Kravitz was the one trying to show Batman, look, I like you, and she kisses him and stuff like that. But Batman didn't have the social skills to kind of convey how he really felt to her at all. So I didn't mind that whatsoever, because I know the backstory of this Batman is Bruce Wayne. As the movies go on, I think that relationship will get better. And even near the end, when Catwoman is leaving, Batman didn't want her to leave. He wanted her to stay. He kind of wanted to go with her as well, but he can't leave Gotham City behind. And I did like that. And he wanted to tell her how he felt, but he just couldn't at all. He couldn't at all. So she was awesome. I really liked her as well. And this movie, it's pretty dark in places. It's so kind of raunchy at times too, because there's a scene where, Batman, he's stalking Catwoman and she's getting changed, and we can see kind of, her in her underwear, and you can see through her top and stuff like that. I was like, this is a Batman movie I'm watching right now that's like PG-13. Kids can go see this. And I can see many kids not liking this movie because it's very slow. It is very slow. And as I said, the action isn't the biggest thing about this movie. It's more kind of the plot. But Zoe Kravitz was amazing in the role as well. Jeffrey Wright as Jim Gordon, I thought the chemistry between him and Robin Pattinson in the roles was fantastic. I love how he was a good cop. I love how Batman told him, you're a good cop, stuff like that. That was awesome. I loved kind of, as well, Batman isn't liked by the police at all. He goes to crime scenes, he's looked down on, people are kind of scared of him, people are like, what the hell is this guy doing here, And Robin Pattinson's Batman's just walking, and he just looks at people, and he's very slow, and like the way he walks is just fantastic, I thought, because he has this presence about him that was just amazing to see. It felt like I was watching Batman, like a real Batman on screen. It was. We didn't really get that much time with Ben Affleck's one like that. Or even Christian Bale, like they were Bruce Wayne a lot in those movies. They were never really Batman in scenes that were slow. But Jeffrey Wright was really cool in this. I liked him a lot. I thought it was very funny as well at times. This movie had a lot of laughter, a lot of jokes to it as well. And DC, for me, has always been, really good at humor. When it tries to copy Marvel, for me, it doesn't really stick. JL-17. We can talk about maybe Shazam or the recut version of Suicide Squad. When they try to be something that they're not, it doesn't work for me that much. DC's humor has always been grounded, and it's kind of real life humor for me. And what I mean by that is, it kind of is humor that we would use in our everyday life. There's a scene where Batman and Catwoman are together, and Catwoman has a lot of cats, and Batman basically says, you have a lot of cats. That's funny, and that's something that you would probably say if you were in a room with a girl and there was cats everywhere. It's kind of that real life humor that I always admired DC for. And there's a scene where Batman gets knocked out, he's taken into custody by the police, and the police don't want him there, they want to arrest him, and then him and Jeffrey Wright's Jim Gordon come up with a plan so Batman can escape. He's like, take my keys, punch me, go out this door and leave and stuff like this. And it was cool because Batman did punch him, and then later on Jim Gordon and Batman meet up, and Jim Gordon's like, you could have held that punch, and Batman's like, I did. That's hilarious to me. That is great humor, and it's well performed by the two actors. So their chemistry was fantastic. It really, really was. Another kind of characters, we had the Mayor in this as well. We didn't get to see much of her. Belle Reeve, I think her name is, the character. So we'll probably see more of her in the second movie. John Tuttoro as Carmine Falcone. I've seen him in The Big Lebowski. I've seen him in the Transformer movies. Fine actor, but he was kind of under my radar as well in terms of will he be good in this movie? And I thought he was fantastic. I didn't see John Tuttoro at all. I'm watching the Apple TV series right now, Severance, where John Tuttoro is in that as well. And I can see John Tuttoro. He's very good in that as well, but I can see him as the actor. Here, I couldn't really at all. I didn't really see him. All I got to see was Carmine Falcone. And that's why I think every single actor that's in this movie plays their characters beautifully, and they are the characters. They actually become the characters. I don't see the actors anymore in this movie at all. He was fantastic. It's kind of a shame he did die at the end. He was killed by the Riddler. That was a shame. He was kind of sniped, because I would have liked to see more of that character. Maybe in the Penguin series we get to see prequel stuff with him. That would be cool, but he did die. But he was very good in the movie. I did enjoy him quite a lot. And Paul Dano is one of the best actors in the world. There's not many actors who can go toe-to-toe with Daniel Day-Lewis in the movie, and he did. And maybe outperformed him in a few scenes. So Paul Dano as the Riddler was very good. I thought, even though it was more of a serious version of the character, I also thought he was a little bit campy as well, because his reaction where Batman... Riddler thinks he's working with Batman because Riddler gives Batman these clues, these hints, these riddles. Batman figures them out. He hunts down that person. Batman beats them up, finds information from them. And Riddler even says that in the movie. He's like, look, I'm the brains. I don't do that stuff. You're the physical side of this. And Batman's like, we're not working together. Riddler's like, yes, we are. And Batman's like, you're crazy. You're a nobody. We're not working together. And Riddler's like, no, this is not how it's supposed to go. I was literally scared by this man. He's mentally ill, and you can see that. And you can also see that at the end of the movie where a certain character manipulates him. Joker's in the movie, which was an interesting scene, which I'll get to as well. Yeah, but Paul Dano, never had to worry about him. He was fantastic in the role, but there was also that comedy side of him where he had all these followers, and he had these goons who kind of follow him as well. And the big kind of climax of the movie where Batman figures out kind of the last big riddle, where the Riddler has put explosives around Gotham City, kind of where the banks of the water is and the ocean and stuff like that. So those explode and Gotham City gets flooded. So Batman, of course, is trying to save people, but the Riddler has these followers, these goons. The Riddler kind of has a cult, trying to expose, Gotham City, the politicians, the police, and all this stuff. So he has these people who are following him. So when he gets arrested, he's in prison, he's in Arkham Asylum. These guys come out, and they try to take down the mayor and the high people of Gotham City. That's where Batman comes in to try and save the day. So people were complaining about the third act of the movie being kind of underwhelming because it didn't have a big boss villain, to fight or anything like that, because Riddler was in prison. He was kind of missing for that third act of the movie, that big climax. But I thought it was fine, it was okay. I thought it was kind of made sense for what the Riddler was, because as you said, he's kind of brains more than kind of his strength and physical side of him. Maybe they could have brought in a different villain to be kind of the physical threat in the third act, something like that. I don't know. But those guys, they all wore Riddler masks. So they basically were the Riddler in a way. So Batman fights them. I actually like how Batman does get hurt in this movie quite a lot. There's a scene where he gets kind of knocked out from the bomb exploding. He gets knocked out when he's kind of flying away from the police, and he uses this kind of the flying jacket thing. He smashes into a bus and he hurts himself there. And also at the end of the movie, he kind of gets concussed as well when Catwoman shows up and he's trying to save her and he can't. Then he puts the adrenaline into himself, and that kind of helps him then again. But yeah, the action scene there was fine. It was cool. I like the one-shot action sequences where he's taking down guys one by one, fighting them and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. It kind of reminds me of John Wick in a way in terms of the one-shot camera action. I love that. I don't like too many cuts in my action movies at all. That's where Batman Begins doesn't really hold up in terms of action at all because of the cuts. But yeah, that was fine. It was okay. And the third act was more of a message than a big finale of action. It was more of a message that Batman is this beacon of hope for people of Gotham City in a very kind of bad, dark city. And yeah, so I also liked how, he's beating up the Riddler guy, and then his mask is taken off, and Jim Gordon's like, who the hell are you? And he's like, I'm Vengeance. And I think that's when Batman kind of realizes that, yeah, maybe how he was going about things wasn't the right way, because he maybe in a way it did look like he was working with the Riddler in a way, because Batman's thing is I am vengeance, and then these Riddler goons are I am vengeance as well, because it looked like maybe from the outside that Batman and Riddler were actually on the same pathway. They were actually trying to do the same thing, was expose this kind of this badness about Gotham City, and maybe they were working together from the outside if you were looking at it that way. And if Riddler was telling his goons that, look, I'm leaving these clues for Batman, he's sorting it out for me, so it would make sense that if Batman says I am vengeance, these Riddler goons would say the same. They all have the same goal in mind, but Batman has to go about it a different way than say the Riddler is, because Batman won't kill, he won't use guns and stuff like that, and that's something that will be developed as the movies go on. Kind of a negative to that is, look, there's a big argument online every single week. Batman, does he kill? Does he not kill? For me, every single version of Batman, he does kill in a way, because he's fighting these guys, they're trying to kill him, he beats them up. Some guys he beats up more than others, there's explosions, and people obviously die. It's just whether the movie wants to make that a talking point or not. At the start of Batman v Superman, that big event happened. People died, and that's the main story for Batman v Superman. The media are going against Superman because of what happened. This is where this vengeance starts in Batman towards Superman because of people dying. His friend Jack died as well, and that's what the story was about. In the Dark Knight trilogy, he talks about I don't use guns, I don't kill, but people do die because of Batman in the movie. Michael Keaton's Batman definitely did kill. Here it's kind of different, because Robin Pattinson, while he's fighting these criminals and stuff, it shows that they're okay. The Riddler goons at the end, they're on this kind of harness, and while Batman knocks them off this platform, they're just hanging there because they have the harness. And then when he's fighting other criminals, it shows that guy just got a broken nose. That element, it's not like I didn't like it, but it's Batman. He's supposed to be raw. He's supposed to be powerful. He beats people up, and they might not die, but they're not going to be okay either. So that's a slight negative I would have, but the chase sequence between Penguin and Batman, there was a massive explosion there with loads of cars and vehicles. Somebody died there, but the movie didn't want to focus on that. You know what I mean? Like, some of the movies like to focus on this or that, or that he killed here, he shouldn't have, it's a big thing. And other movies just like to ignore it. And that's where this movie comes in. It just likes to ignore certain scenes, but then other scenes, it shows you that these guys Batman is fighting, he beats them, but they're okay, they're not really dead. And maybe there is a scene or two that I'm missing where you could argue that person died there because Batman was fighting them. And the scene with the last kind of Riddler goon, Batman takes the adrenaline shot. He's beating that guy with some pretty big punches, and then he takes off his mask and he just has a bruise on the side of his face. But those punches weren't held, and they were pretty raw and pretty brutal, so that guy's face probably shouldn't be okay. That's kind of something that the movie did as well, but it's not something that I'm sitting there like, oh my god, this is terrible or anything like that. It's just kind of when watching Christian Bale's Batman or Michael Keaton's Batman or Ben Affleck's Batman, you see how raw and brutal they are when fighting guys and what happens and stuff. Like, that guy's not okay, that guy definitely died and stuff like that, But there's the argument online that Batman kills or he doesn't kill, but he definitely leads to people dying, even if he doesn't want to or not. But overall, I thought the film was very engaging, very appealing. Really enjoyed it. It's so different from anything we've seen from Batman before, and that was fantastic. That was really, really cool and really risky for Matt Reeves to make a Batman movie like this. I've never seen anything like this before, and I can't wait to watch it again to see if it holds up, to see what I see the second time around, because there's so much to unpack with it. That's why I was overwhelmed, because there was so much story, there was so much information. We got to see Batman so much. There was so much going on with these 2 hours and 50 minutes, and to be honest with you, the movie could have been longer, because I would have sat there for another hour or two, because I was fully embraced. I was loving this world so much. It was well written, it was well performed, the cinematography, the score was fantastic. They used the Nirvana, music that we've seen in the trailer. Really, really cool. Really, really cool. And the movie kind of reminded me of Blade Runner, the city aesthetic of it. Movies like Taxi Driver, The Godfather, Drive, maybe elements of Saw as well with the Riddler, Chinatown. There's so many movies that this movie was inspired by, and you can see that seeped throughout the movie from minute one to the very last minute. Big time. So, Matt Reeves, he was very bold in this, but the story was very good and stuff like that, but there was no unbelievable moment to me that stands out. Cool story, interesting, all that kind of stuff. But nothing really bad happened. No character kind of died or anything like that. Because you look at The Dark Knight, where Rachel died. That's a pretty big moment. Or Harvey Dent dies and then Batman's on the run. Those are pretty big moments in those movies. Even in Batman v Superman, the Martha moment. Like, those are risky things. Big time. So, in this movie, it didn't really have that, oh my god, what the hell moment for me. But that didn't have to happen. It was still a very good story, well performed, all that kind of stuff. It's just, it was missing something that the other Batman movies had. In terms of masterpiece, is it a masterpiece? I'm not too sure. I have to see the movie a few more times, because for me, still the pinnacle of comic book movies is The Dark Knight, but my favorite Batman is Ben Affleck. But Robin Pattinson was fantastic in the role. I really enjoyed him big time. So I have to see it a few more times. Whether to call it a masterpiece or not, it's definitely a really brilliant film. Really is. And Matt Reeves did a spectacular job, and everybody involved did a spectacular job, especially in COVID, where the movie got cut down, like in terms of like they couldn't shoot the way they wanted and stuff like that. Now there is a 4-hour cut of this movie that Matt Reeves said we will get to see. And I think that this 4-hour cut will actually be better than this. I do. I think it will add more to the story. It could flow a little bit better. We'll add more information, because I didn't want to leave this world. I wanted to see more and more. It's a shame I had to leave the theater, because I wanted to see more of what was happening in this amazing world that was built by Matt Reeves. So I'm very intrigued by the 4-hour cut, or the longer director's cut of the movie, because I think it could be a lot better. And there was a few scenes cut that was in the trailer, and also the Joker is in this movie more. It was cut out with Matt Reeves talking about this the last few days. He said that the scene was cool, but it didn't fit the narrative of the story, because it conveyed the same message that Batman learned earlier in the movie. And let's just talk about that kind of ending scene with Joker and Riddler. If you guys follow my channel, I told you months ago that I heard the Joker was in this movie. And I didn't want to spoil it, because I didn't want to be that guy. And also, I admire Matt Reeves as a filmmaker, and I'm sure he wanted to keep this as a surprise for people. But like a day or two after I was told this, somebody else leaked it. So I was like, okay, it's out there now, I might as well talk about it. And I was told about 2 scenes. One of the scenes was cut from the movie, and this has been confirmed by Matt Reeves, where the Batman goes to visit Joker to get some advice about the Riddler. And this sounds like a pretty awesome scene. Matt Reeves said it was cool, but the reason he cut it was because Batman learned something in that scene, but he already learned it earlier in the movie, so there was no point of having 2 scenes with the same message. But he did say after the movie is out a few weeks, he will release that scene with Barry Keoghan's Joker and Robin Pattinson's Batman interacting, which I think will be the better of the 2 scenes. The scene we get to see in the actual movie is of the Riddler very annoyed that Batman has stopped his plan. And we hear this voice from the other cell, everyone loves a comeback, and we hear this laugh, we get to see his face vaguely, talks about you turn into a clown. Obviously it's the Joker, it's Barry Keoghan as the Joker. And yes, I will admit the scene isn't executed that well. It doesn't feel like a scene from this particular movie. It feels like a post-credit scene. It does, even though this movie doesn't have a post-credit scene. But I did like the interaction between these 2 villains. It was very creepy in the laugh and things like that. But it's very hard to know if Barry Keoghan's going to be a good Joker or not, or how he even looks, because we don't get to see that much. That's why I think the scene that was cut is the better of the 2 scenes, which we'll see when it's released. But Barry Keoghan's a great actor, and I'm sure he will do fine in the role. But in terms of we've had enough Joker, we don't need Joker anymore, if that's the case, we don't need Batman anymore either, because for me, for Batman to exist, his parents must die. But also you need the Joker there. I'm not saying the Joker needs to be the villain of the Batman 2 or Batman 3, but he has to exist in this world of Gotham City, this new world. The Joker has to be there. You can't just ignore him. And my favourite characters of all time are Batman and Joker, so maybe I'm biased, but I think you both have to have those characters. You need to have those characters together at some stage in this universe, and Matt Reeves is just laying the groundwork. I think the Joker will get a bigger pop than, say, Bane or, any other villain, Clayface or Scarecrow or any of those type of villains. Joker is universally known. $1 billion Joker, that movie came out 3 years ago, Joaquin Phoenix. So for me, you need to have the Joker. I think Matt Reeves wanted to lay the groundwork, build some hype as well, word of mouth, and the Joker will definitely help that case. But I think the other scene is the better scene. That was obviously cut. But it looks like he's going to have a big smile, and Matt Reeves has said that he was born this way, so that's very interesting as well. But yeah, if we don't need Joker anymore, then we don't need Batman. We've had enough of two of them. Just do Kite Man or something like that, you know. But the scene was tacked on, but I still like it because it lays the groundwork. It's world building, and I still like the Riddler and Joker interacting. We've never seen that before. But I can fully understand people don't like that scene. I'll even admit, I'm a huge Joker fan, but it wasn't executed as well as it maybe should have. I think the scene may have been better if we got to see the Joker earlier in the movie. You know what I mean? Because Batman goes to him, he's like, I need some help with this Riddler guy. And then at the end of the movie, Joker is using the Riddler probably to get out of Arkham Asylum and to build this kind of rogue gallery team. Of course, the Joker will manipulate people for his own benefit and stuff like that. So it's going to be interesting to see these villains interact because we have never seen this before. We've never seen, Scarecrow interact with Two-Face or the Penguin or Carmine Falcone. This is awesome. This is pretty cool that we're going to get to see in this universe, and that's very intriguing and very exciting for me big time. Also, Barry Keoghan is Irish. We got another Irishman being a Batman villain. This is pretty cool, and we got a British guy as Batman as well. But the scene, wasn't amazing, but it was creepy. I thought it was pretty cool, and it's awesome to see these two iconic characters engage with each other, and we'll get to see that more in the Batman 2. Matt Reeves did say the Joker might not be the main villain for the Batman 2. He's just laying the groundwork. He's just building this world. He's just showing which characters exist in this world, which is pretty awesome. And look, I'm a huge fan, so this is just pretty cool to me. So I did like the scene, but I can understand people not liking the scene whatsoever. Did you like the scene? Make sure you let me know below. I asked your guys' thoughts in the community tab of the YouTube channel. What did you think of the Batman? This comes from Bizwaz. The Batman is a masterpiece from every aspect what a true DC comic book fan wants. Though some more action with Batmobile, Batcycle or other gadgets would have been great, but that's not a letdown for the movie. I enjoyed every moment of the movie. Totally agree. Big time. I really did. The action wasn't amazing, the best thing about it, but it was still very enjoyable. This comes from Rebel Scum. I really liked it too. Love the film, noir tone, with the look of the city and his narration. Had the dark detective feel. It was like the comics and Arkham games coming to life. I like he isn't the fancy playboy Bruce, he's a damaged Bruce. Also so glad they skipped the origin story of young Bruce and his parents getting killed. I was so tired of seeing that done over and over. Movie is dope. Oh, and I forgot the narration. That's why it reminded me of the original Blade Runner. The narration, he was like March, or not March, but he was like October 31st, It was really cool, November 2nd. That was awesome. I did like the narration. That was actually pretty cool. And yeah, he wasn't the fancy playboy Bruce. We've seen that before. And we've also seen his parents died. His parents have to die, but we don't necessarily have to see it in every single movie. This comes from Planet Musk Vlog. For me, the Batman is believable. Nuanced, gritty, grounded, and engaging. Not a turn your brain off and enjoy the ride type of movie. In short, it is art. That's a great review. Yes, it's not going to be for everybody. Not everybody will like this movie because it's very slow. It's more artsy than actual action spectacle, but it's very well made. And I liked how gritty, dark, and nuanced it actually was as well. And Robert Pattinson's Batman, his demeanor while he's walking and just looking at people, sometimes he doesn't even speak, but you can understand what he's trying to convey. That was amazing. That was really well done from Robin Pattinson. This comes from Michael Bryce. It was really good movie. Felt like watching the Arkham games a little. Exactly, yes. It felt like if you were going on YouTube or Twitch and somebody was playing the Arkham games and they're doing a playthrough of it, it was like you were watching somebody do the action, do the tasks and stuff, and then also watching the cutscenes. That's what it felt like to me. I was fully embracing it big time. This comes from Batman himself. Batman watches the channel. That's pretty cool. He goes, masterpiece. Well, Batman, that's probably biased from you, but yes, we all agree. Well, I don't know if it's a masterpiece, yes, but it's definitely very, very good. This comes from Spike93. I found it boring. That's okay, Spike. That's totally fine. As I said, it's not for everybody because the film is very slow in places. The action isn't the biggest thing about it. It's more the story. So yeah, I will agree that some people will not like the movie, and that's cool. Just don't be mean to other people about it. If you don't like it, tell me why you don't like it. That's awesome. That's pretty cool. I don't mind people not liking stuff that I don't. Just don't be a dick, because not saying that you are, Spike, but people online can be very, very mean because you don't like something that they like, or sometimes online I get kind of things because I like all the kind of Batman movies, and people say, oh my god, you're just a shit, you like everything. No, I just like the character, I like the different iterations, I like the different characters, the different actors and stuff like that. It doesn't make me a shill, it's just I like this character so much, and I love different people taking on the role. Of course, my favourite is Ben Affleck. My favourite movie is The Dark Knight. But that doesn't mean I can't enjoy Batman Forever or Batman Returns or, yeah, people are just kind of crazy online. But that was your guys' thoughts. Thanks very much for sending them in to the community tab of the channel. Keep an eye out in that tab because I will ask you guys more stuff in the future and polls. Thanks very much for sending those in, guys. Really appreciate it. And if you didn't get to make the community tab, make sure you get into the comment section of this review and let me know your thoughts of the Batman movie starring Robert Pattinson. But guys, that's my thoughts, my discussion, my kind of breakdown of the entire movie. Probably missed some things here and there. I do apologize. It's just off the top of my head. But yeah, I really like the movie. Cannot wait to watch it again, to go through it even more. I wonder if it still holds up, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was awesome, and it's unlike any other comic movie that we've ever seen. It's unlike any other Batman movie that we've ever seen. That's amazing considering we've had, 13, 12 Batman movies. That is pretty cool. I will do more breakdown videos, especially of the Joker, explain videos of the movie. Just keep an eye out for that on the channel as well, guys. I really appreciate it. Make sure you give a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, follow me on all my social medias, and guys, I'll see you in the next video. Make sure you let me know your thoughts about the Batman and stay tuned for more the Batman related videos coming soon to the channel. Guys, thanks for watching. See you in the next video.